cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas is low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang, and we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight, cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day, they still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. Lil' mama, she bad but complain, cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane, and go get this money with Dizzy. I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang.
I get the bag with the gang, taking that Zach to the bank. Henny be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that should change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about same. Be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. But fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Robert, it's just my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang.
Attention, please. Please do not smoke in the terminal building. Smoking is only permitted in the specified smoking areas.
Zach. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake, then we link up.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy, I've got the look that drives the girls while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines, I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy, I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. Let's go. I make them hot, I make them shiver. These get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy, I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. That might flip though. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome, everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode. Got another great one lined up for you folks. Before we get into it, let's get into our communion. Y'all already know the drill. If you don't, act like you do. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who flied for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. Alrighty then. And now for our communion song. This one comes to us from Foy Vance. It's called Where Everybody Knows Your Name.
Dublin, and he's going to play us out. Foy, you're going to play what to finish us up?
Do you know what? I don't know the name of this song actually, but I know the song, and so will you.
Oh, I look forward to this. Foy Vance, take it away.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came.
Was first.
You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, all those nights when you got no lights and the check is in
Caterpillar
the mail,
was second.
and your little angel on the cowherd by its tail. You His third fiancé didn't show. Well, sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and you're always glad they came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
All right, and Lena was third. Thanks, gang.
Well, you get out of bed and the coffee's dead. The morning isn't looking bright.
I'm a hardcore anti-theist, Mojo. I am a hardcore anti-theist to the point it makes me even incompatible with the majority of the atheists on YouTube.
He doesn't even write. Your girlfriend says she's not a girl. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody
All right, I got Nerdy Rodent, Caterpillar, Lena, Mojo,
and they're always glad
Cameron
you came.
Baby.
You wanna be
Sounds like a
where
wrestler's
you can
name.
see troubles are all the same.
The
You
Wolf
wanna
Den.
go where everybody knows your name.
Crypto Mystic.
You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Boy, Vance. Most common word coming in by text,
Beautiful,
boy,
beautiful, folks. All right, I hope you caught the vibe. I hope you feel good because I have a good feeling that the good feelings are about to come to an end, y'all. Apparently, for the sake of humanity, you know, I don't know, maybe I need to join this man's Patreon and send this man some kind of money or something because apparently Rationality Rules subjected himself to Dennis Prager's master's program, and now his world is ending. Actually, I changed my mind. We got to see how this video goes because if he subjected himself to Dennis Prager's master program, he might no longer be worth watching. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. James, would I be safe going to Dennis Prager's master's program? Because I feel like I might get so stupefied that I could no longer perform my functional duties at a normal university. Like you might Prager yourself out the game. But yeah, I don't know. James is supposed to be here somewhere. And Lena. But we might hear from the panel. All right, let's go ahead and see what Rationality Rules has to say. Lena, you here? Lena's here.
The peanut gallery's here.
All right, what do you think, Lena? Can you handle this? Are we not giving this the credence it deserves? Is this harder to accomplish than we might think? I don't know if I got it in me. I got to be honest with you. School's hard.
Oh, taking Dennis Prager's class?
Yeah, taking his master's program. I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot. I guess we're gonna find out how much is involved. But my initial impression is it's a little too much Jesus for me.
I watched Rationality Rules' video. It was pretty good. So.
All right. See y'all all breaking.
I'm not gonna spend the money on it.
Breaking rank and watching stuff all ahead of time, spoiling the movies and shit.
What is the biggest moral crisis facing the country right now?
Whenever I summarize my life's work, there has been one overwhelming theme: the consequences of secularism. The general modern belief is...
Me and him are on the same shit. The difference is, to him, secularism is the disease, and to me, secularism is the goddamn cure.
You can be too religious, but you can't be too secular. But it's not true.
Yes.
If society gets too secular,
perfect.
It ends.
Coming from an ever-growingly secular country, I'm intrigued. Maybe it's time to take Dennis Prager's master program.
You've got to
All right,
ask.
but look, gang, pause the tape. Let's keep it $1.50 right here. This is what I mean about how stupid you got to be to want to be a Christian. We know that the history of human progress has depended on the development of societies more according to secular values. It's a tale as old as time. And so it's so silly. It's easy to kind of laugh it off. But we have to remember that there's a real apocalypticism at the foundation of all this that underlines oppression to just human decency. Just regular old let's be better people shit gets them all fucking riled up and pissed off. Also, I'm gonna move this light over here because it's got my camera. Oh, there it is. I had it covered. I was like, why is my camera looking all dark and shit? Here we go.
The right questions about life, or you can't come up with the right answers.
Yeah, questions
Lena,
such as,
spank the
is
wolf,
Dennis adequately
Lena.
equipped and sufficiently neutral to talk earnestly about secularism? Are we really going to get an objective analysis here?
I'm giving
We
everybody
become
1,000
stupid
pocket
as we
change because we got
depart
100
from that book
messages in
that
chat.
people laugh at called the Bible. And this is all a function of the secular world in which we live.
Okay, it's clear that I've got my hands full with this one. This is going to be a master's program in something, of that I'm certain.
We're appealing to the mind, the great gift, the separator of the animal and the human, the mind. What is the world in which human rights were enshrined, where women were elevated? These developed in the West. The West was formed by Christianity.
Well, there's no doubt that the West's history is integrated with Christianity. But to say that Christianity is responsible for elevating women, for instance, is quite the claim. I mean, put it this way, it wasn't until the late 19th century, after the Enlightenment and Industrial Revolution.
It is me.
What's up, James?
I'm over here moaning at how absolutely cringe. Prager doesn't even build up to his cringe. He just breaks right through the wall like Kool-Aid.
He does, man. He's straight to the point, like no waste and secularism is the end of the world. I mean, it's so ridiculous. And but it reveals to me that he's well aware of the criticism of Christianity. He wants you to be aware of it, but he just doesn't. I mean, he starts off right on this, us who believe in this book that is mocked at. Like, yeah, bro, the book's fucking stupid. It's a stupid-ass book, bro.
Well, yeah, if he honestly thinks that secularism is this time bomb that destroys societies, then how come he's not trying to get Islamic societies to become secular, to destroy them?
Right.
Well, he touches on in a sec how he wants them to be. He'd rather them more secular than more religious, but it's not a good thing in any way.
What a weird person, man. And look, I'm gonna just put it this way: you're not tuned into James Apperson. You're not tuned into Nitty. You're tuned in to Pocket Locker 86, and I'm here to let you know this shit is retarded. If you look, it's been a lot of friends making going on in the internet, and I kind of don't like it. I'm kind of not with it. People been a little too friendly. This shit is ridiculous. This is absurd. You are retarded if you think that secularism is going to be the downfall of humanity. And I'm sorry, but you're retarded if you don't accept that we're animals. He's literally saying we have to build up this Christian worldview so that we can reinforce the separation of man from animals. That is not possible. I'm so angry about this shit. Y'all don't understand, like... This is like me looking in the mirror and denying that I'm black. Why do you do this to yourself? And why is it okay? This is a sick, twisted form of self-hatred. And look, I'm going to do what Derek said, man. Eventually, man, y'all got to join that goddamn Ko-Fi. Because, look, I'm going to start dropping the members-only fucking evolutionary shit. And my number one mission to start all that shit off is going to be to explain to people's narrow asses that you're a fucking animal. It's fucking ridiculous. You are flat earth stupid to deny that people are animals. Flat earth stupid. Let's be very, very clear about that. It's not okay. I don't care about your fucking religious fairy tale. I don't care. I don't think you're right to believe it should be protected. Whoops! Did I speak too honestly on YouTube? I literally don't. I do not think we need to protect people's rights to believe fucking religions. We don't. We don't. That's not an important human right. There's nothing essential about protecting a person's right to spread delusions and fairy tales and indoctrinate children. Nothing. Nothing. It isn't education. It isn't fucking health. It isn't wealth. It's nothing. We are sitting here fighting for the rights to play fucking to LARP. Okay? It's ridiculous. And you are poisoning people's minds to the point that they hate themselves. Exactly. You indoctrinate children to hate themselves. Something so fundamental as the unwillingness to accept that you're an animal. And we also have to say it is the most anti-human, disrespectful, antisocial shit imaginable. Because you're disrespecting the work of all the people who did the research to help us come to this understanding. You are spitting in their face. You are saying their work doesn't matter because it's not convenient to your little book. You want to believe your little fairy tale, and so you don't care. The lengths people had to go, the sacrifices they had to make, the resources that had to be spent in order for us to get this information, which belongs to the motherfucking public. It is the fucking people's information. The people fund the research, and the people get to benefit from the results of the research they have fucking funded. And these people mean to rob us of our truth about ourselves, and I am not going to stand by and watch. Let's be very clear about that.
Revolution, that the West took seriously the possibility of granting women the right to vote. And yet, it seems, Dennis wants us to believe that despite Christianity having pretty much complete and dominating power since the 4th century, it took over 1,500 years for them to emancipate half the human race. Combine this with all the verses in the Bible that explicitly degrade women to second-class citizens, and Dennis's claim becomes all the more wild.
Look, let's not paper over this. Boom. Let's call it. Let's call it. Because I get so sick of hearing this fucking nonsense. Let's do a little Bible study. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. I'm done. James Apperson, can you hit us with I noticed it wasn't a deal breaker.
I noticed it wasn't a deal breaker.
All right, we're going to come back to this shit, y'all, because I got something to really say. Which is, once you're aware of this, and you continue to be part of this group, especially if you identify as part of the group. I'm not talking about you go to the group to hate watch, you there to teach them, or you interact with them. I'm not saying you shouldn't feed people, but it kind of makes you a bigot. Mm-hmm. It just does. It just does. Taking the gloves off. Because you paper over it, and I know, and this is the part people don't understand. What they don't understand is because they're not affected enough by it, because they're not impacted enough by it, they don't see how wrong it is to tolerate it. And because they don't see how wrong it is to tolerate it, they feel slighted that you dare to associate them with the bigotry themselves. But again, James, they choose to wear the labels. You did such fantastic work on this, which you won't let anybody see, but you did such fantastic work on this. They choose to wear the labels, and it is not our fault what the label has come to mean. You know, it's part of what I felt like about your whole conversation with Mike. Look, about the word conservative. Look, I feel you, a lot of people, because you've been around a long time, and the word conservative used to be something different. But yeah, the motherfucking Democratic and Republican parties used to be whole ass switched in terms of who were the progressives and who were not. But it doesn't matter. What matters is right now. So if you tell me you're a conservative right now, I'm going to assume you're one of these fucking asshole Trumpletons. Why? Because that's the mean of what that label, by mean I mean the average of what that label has come to signify in our society. It's not my fault that that's the first thing that comes to mind when I hear that word. It really isn't. Now, if you got to do some bending over and all of these tricks to help me understand why you want to take the label, but you don't want the smoke that comes with the label, bro, I'm just here to tell you, you need to let go of the fucking label. And if you can't, then you're asking for it. You're literally asking for it. Because again, maybe it's privilege or something, but people are doubling down on pride about the wrong shit, right? We're going to do some more streams about this shit coming up, y'all, but I'm telling you, it's why we have beef with people on the Pine Creek shit. Why? Because Pine Creek's a fucking bigot. And we call him out. He's a fucking bigot. Stop fucking with him. He's a fucking bigot. We make it clear time and time again. And then finally we say, fuck it. We ain't going to deal with y'all no more if you want to keep fucking with that bigot, because we're done. We gave you plenty of opportunity to act right and you won't come to the table. So fuck it. We're done. Then all of a sudden we're the bad guys. And what do people fight for? Oh, now all of a sudden motherfuckers got to speak up. Oh, now all of a sudden motherfuckers got a pair. Oh, now all of a sudden motherfuckers got enough audacity to speak out. But what are they speaking out against? They're speaking out against the people who don't want to tolerate being around those who associate with bigots, not speaking out against the bigotry. Fuck is wrong with y'all? I'm here to call it out for what it is. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. And so that's what the fuck happens in this situation. This religion subjugates women. Now, if you go and tell me that you're a biblical Christian because you believe the Bible is the unerrant word of God, then fuck off. I'm going to hold you accountable for what it says in the goddamn Bible. And this is what it says in the Bible. So don't hit me with no sauce. Oh no, Christianity really means to liberate women and it's the reason women have progressed. No. It has been the dominant label, and as society has progressed more towards racial equality, the abolition of slavery, women's rights and all of these other things, they've carried the Christian label with them. But in no way, shape, or form was Christianity the fucking catalyst of the motherfucking progress. Absolutely not.
Not even now. Like, not even in Dennis Prager's own house. I mean, think about it. The dude's married. Who do you think's making who a sandwich? He ain't making her a sandwich. On it. Yeah, it's just complete bullshit. It's just complete gaslighting bullshit. He doesn't even believe the shit he's saying.
He doesn't. And that's what I mean when I say they don't care, James. It's all about winning the rhetorical, it's all about winning the hearts and minds. Right? So, and you got to do it through the message. So the message is whatever it takes to win them hearts and minds. Truth be damned. Reality be damned. It's crazy.
The Catholic Church plays the same game, coming out acting like they're all progressive with these progressive soundbites.
Right.
But if you dig deeper and you ask them the harder questions, they don't want to have the conversation anymore.
Right. Even the evolution thing, like, I give it up to Catholic Church because, they came out as pro, accepting evolution. I shouldn't even say pro, I should say accepting of evolution. But it really isn't. It's really a sick theistic evolution if you look into it, right? It's still but God did it, right? You know what I mean?
Right, God arbitrarily chose eventually 2 apes to put a human soul into, and that was Adam and Eve.
Yeah,
that's what they come up with.
Yeah, exactly. They came up with some crazy unscientific nonsense, and only because they had to, right? So again, they were not leading the charge of this is good to go. They fought and fought and fought and fought and fought. Oh yeah, sorry. We're gonna have to work this into the diet. That's all it ever is. That's all it ever is we've been overwhelmed by the evidence again. Guess we're gonna have to pretend this is what God meant to say all along. Mm-hmm. And it's infuriating because it's so dehumanizing. It's so insulting to our intelligence to act like we can't piece it together, to act like we can't see that that's what's happening. Yeah, it pisses me off. All right, here's another one. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. I mean, how do you just... And James, how do they tell us we taking this shit out of context? Because again, what was the fucking context? You mean to tell me these Near Eastern ancient motherfuckers weren't sexist and misogynist and bigoted and homophobe and desirous of an economy based on slavery and on and on and on the list goes? Mm-hmm. That is the fucking context. That's the context.
Yep. What? Hebrew Bible makes no apologies for it either. It's like blatantly women are property, right? Girls are property. Sex, slave, property. Yes. That's their function on earth.
Yeah,
that's what they're here for. And the New Testament people come along with this new Jesus cult, and even as it progressed, they never let go of that idea. They never said, "Oops, we were wrong. Women are equals." Right? We right. They never said that.
Right. And imagine the props Jesus would have been gotten if he did. It was right there. Yeah. Right there.
Awful lot of shit the Jesus character didn't think to say.
Didn't think to say. Just didn't think.
He didn't even mention pedophilia, for example.
Right.
Ain't on his radar.
And boy, you know how we'd really have proof of Jesus? If the Bro, I was just going to say it. The motherfucker would have hit us with the germ theory of disease. Oh, trust me. There would have been pictures of him in shrines. And I know, exactly what that motherfucker looked like. And every descendant of his, people like, I'm Jesus's like 13th cousin on the fourth side removed. Because think about it. They tell you that, people tell you that now they're related to Genghis Khan. And technically my ancestors came over on the Mayflower. Let people have some distant ancestors that contributed a little bit to some real ass memorable history. Mm-hmm. Right? That legacy carries for thousands of fucking years. Mm-hmm. Jesus ain't hit us up with none of that shit that would have made his ass for real famous. Like, all he hit us with was some local churchman shit. Be good to your wife, don't stone each other, pay your taxes, pay your workers. What a fucking revolutionary this guy was.
Facts.
All the verses in the Bible that explicitly degrade women to second class.
All right, here we go, y'all. It's Bible study time, y'all. Don't let my one black friend hear that I'm studying the Bible, not on hot program. I really do hate this book. All right, let your women... Y'all see why I hate this. This is why I hate this fucking book. Who the fuck wants to read this shit? Let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. Y'all, I'm sorry. I forgot how gross this book is. Well, I forgot passages like this. This is so And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church. I'm sorry, Rationality Rules, bro. You should have paused and brought some more attention to this, bro. You can't just roll through scriptures like this in 4 seconds. Nah, you can't roll through this, y'all.
Now, women ain't even allowed to ask questions in church.
James, I'm being honest right now, bro. I feel guilty in this moment right now. I feel really bad. Number one, again, it's right up there with the anti-LGBT stuff where I'm so disappointed that I didn't come to terms with this as a Christian and then walk away with this alone. What did this shit say about my mama? Oh shit, I'm out. Fuck, my last day as a Christian was yesterday. I'm so disappointed in myself that I heard people say the Bible was sexist and misogynist and all this shit, and I looked into all this shit about evolution and dating and 52,000 drum techniques and how to work mixing consoles, and I never was like, yo, let me see what this fucking book is saying about my motherfucking mama. No, nobody talk about my mama like that. You know what I'm saying, James? Like, I really didn't go there as a Christian, man. Like, I wasn't emotionally mature, right? I wasn't ready to take a stand for right and wrong, right and real, and this shit is wrong. And I'm disappointed right now as an atheist that we are not attacking Christians hard enough on this shit. The fuck is wrong with y'all grown-ass people worshiping a book that says shit like this? It's fucking ridiculous. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. And this is what I'm saying. We're having too much of these conversations about philosophy and science. Who has the evidence? Who has the arguments? No. We got to go back to right and wrong. It is wrong to talk about women this way. Wrong, 100%. And then why are we discussing worshiping a fucking book that has this in it?
Jay?
Hey, Stephanie.
I appreciate your passion.
Don't hold back, Jay. Tell us what you really think.
I just feel that I should speak up in the atheist church here and say,
go ahead.
A lot of atheists carry this teaching into their online existence too.
We do.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't stop being a misogynist just because you stop being a Christian.
That's so true. Because it doesn't, I don't even think I feel like it's enshrined in the religion because whatever gets encapsulated in the religion gets exalted. But it does take a fundamentally broader, bigoted context for these ideas to be accepted as sacred in the first place, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't sell this to non-bigoted people. Yeah.
We're all socialized into it. In one way, shape, or another, because the church has had a tremendous impact on particularly Western society anyway, that we all carry a little bit of that teaching and just can't forget it. It takes a lot of unlearning to get beyond these kinds of commandments. And you get apologists saying, oh, well, 1 Timothy, Paul didn't write that. I don't give a fuck. He wrote Corinthians. We're reading that right now. It's a shame for women to speak in church. Oh, really? Tell that to my sister.
Yeah.
And fuck you anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and that's what I don't know what to do with, right? Because, I certainly came up in churches where women speak and preach and lead worship and all of these things. But that almost just felt like we're disregarding the text, which I'm happy we're disregarding this text, but I don't know what that means. Because you're sort of just saying we can ignore this particular teaching of God.
This makes sense.
So that is a deeper problem. Stephanie, what do you think about that? Because I'm weird. I have to admit, guys, I'm a bit of a hypocrite when it comes to these things, right? Because I obviously want to progress in a direction where Christians don't behave like their Bible says they should behave. But at the same time, I feel a sincere sense of frustration where if their contradictions and disagreements with their God can be this obvious and this glaring about issues so fundamental to humanity, then is there no hope that they'll just walk away from their religion? I mean, like, that's the part that scares me. And I guess, like I said, it scares me about myself. Like, how did I gloss over this and want to keep being a Christian?
Yeah.
Well, there are cafeteria Christians. It's like, I'm not taking that one, and I'll pick this one over here. I'll pick this one over here. And there are certainly sects that say, no, we're going to hew by the unfailing and ultimately true word of God. And so, yeah, everybody, all you ladies, shut the fuck up. You know, it runs the gamut, really, and it's just a question of progress. I mean, some churches ordain women, some churches don't. You know, the Roman Catholic Church, quite famously, nope, you know, you got a celibate priesthood and all guys, and that's not healthy. Obviously, you know, it's I don't know. It's weird when you start with an apocalyptic. I can't even say the word apocalyptic faith, and you know, expecting the kingdom of God to show up on the earth tomorrow, and therefore, just concentrate on the heavenly and don't pay any attention to what's going down on the earth. And there is still a lot of sects today that carry that view forward, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, or Seventh-day Adventists, or all the stuff that came out of the millennialist cults of the 19th century. That that's what they believe, and they tend to hew to a more fundamentalist view of the whole thing. But I don't know. Anyway, I was sorry to interrupt your passion because I really appreciate it. Please start yelling. I appreciate again. You. Really fucking I appreciate you.
I appreciate you speaking up. I appreciate you speaking up. But no, it really infuriates me, and
well, it is infuriating, and no question.
Yeah, it's and it really is a deep sense of disappointment, gang, because I just feel like that would help us. It's so black and white. It's like, it's right there. Okay, we don't believe this. We all agree, women are equal. And now we can just stop worshiping a God because he was wrong. And this is just one of those things. But I do really think I guess I hope people are. I'm going to try to be a little bit clear about that. The reason I feel so passionately about this is because I'm trying to distinguish the moral failings of continuing to practice this faith from its, shortcomings with regard to philosophy, science, epistemology, or whatever else. And that is why I'm lean the way I lean when it comes to calling people out or ridicule or, not having, people that believe this faith within, certain spaces and stuff like that. Because this is stuff that, I draw a hard line in the sand about. All right, let's see what else we got here.
And Dennis's claim becomes all the more wild.
All right, here we go. I think maybe it's the last one. Until the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. I mean, that is just monstrous. And I'm going to tell y'all how deep it is. My grandmother abides by that so much that she said to me, I would not take a newspaper out of this household without my husband's permission.
Right.
And the funny thing is, we see her as more or less like the anchor of the family. I think a lot of families of color that way, right? There's some strong woman that's grandma, that's does all the stuff that needs to be done to keep everybody together. And grandpa's always worked hard, paid the bills, and been a great, respectable man of God, right? But
right,
it's grandma's house. What's that you talking about? Right? But it's like she doesn't see it that way. You see what I'm saying? And he wouldn't even hit her. He wouldn't care if she took a newspaper out the house without his permission. You see what I'm saying? It's fucked up, and yeah, we hear it fucked up, and then we think to the men who lord a scripture like this over their wives, right? But it don't even have to be that, because it could be the victim themselves that honors this type of scriptural thinking and then does it to themselves.
Right. I agree with all of that, but at the same time, we're not here to kink shame. So I mean,
right.
You just, as long as you know your worth, that's really the point. As long as you know your worth, then our position is basically that's it, right? Sweet dreams are made of this, or we disagree.
Exactly. And here's another one from that bag. Like he has like a doctorate in theology from like Eastern Bible Institute, I think it's called. This is where they did their, apologetics ministers. It's not really apologetics training, it's like ministers training, really. But that's so he got a doctorate, right? She stopped at a master's because she thought she should not have the same level of education as her husband. Like, this is what I mean. Like, just don't make it don't make any sense, right? And and what if your husband decide he's good with a GED? Like, I just don't. I mean, and again, like it's nobody's weeping at night because my grandmother didn't get a doctorate in theology, but it's just sad, right? It just
yeah, it is sad.
Yeah,
women are told that this is like what they're meant for. This is what their limits are supposed to be. This is their place, not just in this society or this house, but in the universe, right? That they were born and bred to be these lesser and subservient creatures,
right?
And that's the problem. The problem isn't voluntary dichotomies of different kind of roles or whatever. I mean, if that's what you're into, then that's what you're into.
I play drums, you play guitar. That's not a problem.
Right, but when you're told that your place is lesser and that's what you're supposed to accept, and that's why you fall into that place because the creator of the universe supposedly thinks that that's all you're worth, that's the problem.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and we ain't even talking. We ain't even touching really on the curse because like we just touched on a few of the hot, clearly misogynistic scriptures, right? There's an overall so much more we could go on to, right? But the whole curse is misogynistic, and then many of the character portrayals. There's a whole mess.
Dennis speaks with the utmost confidence and has an incredible production team behind him, which, of course, makes for a more than adequate substitute for facts. But hey, this is his trailer for his master's program. If we want to really engage with him, we're going to need to take this course in its entirety. And that, my fellow apes,
we have a powerful community.
I'm Dennis Prager, and this is the Master's Program.
I want to pause it right there.
All right, go ahead. And I'm thinking we got to do a whole separate anti-misogyny in the Bible sound off, man. Oh.
Hell yeah. I want to point out the dual meaning to this is the Master's Program. Like, this isn't just an academic reference to a master's degree. This is the Master's Program.
Oh, I wish I could puke on command because I would have just thrown. It makes me sick. Oh, it's gross. Oh, you just ruined my education. I'll never be able to say my own. I'll just skip that part. I have an MA, and I don't want to. Just leave it. Right. Just leave it at that.
For those of you who don't know who Dennis Prager is, it's worth giving him and his university a brief introduction.
Yeah, give him a brief introduction. I hate this motherfucker. Let's just be clear. I fucking hate Dennis Prager. Dennis Prager's the problem. Y'all, if you don't know who Dennis Prager is, number one, congratulations. Number two, he's the worst. He's the worst. It's a problem because there's so many of these names: Dennis Prager, Jordan Peterson, Tucker Carlson, whatever they are. We say their names and there's just this assumed bag of associations that you all understand and we're all on the same page about just how bad these people are. But really, gang, you don't understand. Dennis Prager's the worst of the worst. He's in the A1 circle of horseshit problematic personalities. And
Alex Jones, Rush Limbaugh.
yeah, he's
Prager.
just right up there with the worst of them. And on top of that, like, I hate to say this, but in his own way, he's part of the whole reason I started a cult. Because as an academic, it pisses me off so much that basically what I feel are ministries and churches make YouTube channels and they just pretend they're universities or schools. This university, this academy, this institute's like, no, it's a fucking YouTube channel. So it's like, fuck it, I got a YouTube channel, and I'm gonna just make that shit a church. Yeah, now what? Now what? Yeah, it's a ministry. Yeah, the cult of the flying man. Now what, bitch? Yeah, oh, so you, no, it's not. Like,
Right.
You can't beat him, join him type shit. But no, seriously, because again, people like PragerU really piss me off that much. I take this that seriously. Like, he's one of the primary motivations, because I hate the fact that they do that, because it's a total poisoning of education, right? It makes people think that they're getting formal education, they're getting higher education, that they're participating in a meaningful learning community and all this shit, and they're not at all. And it's like, I actually, all right, so to keep it real, y'all, because I know I sound like just a bitter professor, but to keep it real, I actually just think it's fraud, right? I think it's a fundamentally fraudulent thing to do, and I think it's if it's not criminal, it should be, because it's something I think have a serious public interest to protect our population against. And so it angers me because we're only dealing with it as problematic on one level. Like, we're dealing with the problem of the content. And I feel like the issue is deeper than that, because to me, the motivation is something that should be fundamentally criminalized. And then the fact that it's not, in my estimation, only because organizations like this are hiding behind the fact that they're religious groups is really angering to me, especially as a former believer, because it's like, this is the fucking problem. It's like these churches are out of control, and then we won't put any restraints on them specifically because they're fucking churches. And it's like, well, we're cutting off the tools we really need, but who else can do this? Who else can do this? Like, no other propaganda organization could go around calling itself a fucking university, and the government is like, yeah, that's cool. You could take people's money for doing that. Oh, yeah, you could just make up your own math. Like, you just can't do that shit. But these churches get away with doing this shit all the fucking time with no real regulatory bodies, they could just make up, oh, we just made up the coalition of non-denominational evangelical institutes. And then we just start fucking tossing out our own fucking degrees and shit. This is so ridiculous. And then of course, using these mass communication and social media platforms to like direct inject their message and then they've got they're throwing tons of money at the shit. So of course it works, because they've got the funding to build these huge platforms to put into it. And then I feel like they're doing the Doug, which is they're paying attention to what is the progress people are trying to make. What are the issues that matter the most to people? Where are people trying to meaningfully improve the human experience right now? Oh, well, let's call that secularism and then attack all of that. Let's go after the wokeness. Let's go after the critical race theorists. Let's go after the queer community. Let's go after people demanding economic reform. Let's go after the workers' movement. And just fuck you guys. So now, it's everything wrong that I already said. But even most criminals are just trying to make their money. Right, even most mobsters, if you fall victim of a mobster, it's because you were in the wrong neighborhood, right? You're in the neighborhood where they run their grift, and you just happen to live there, right? But these people are like a fucking mob organization that's like going out of its way to ruin politics at the same time on some Yakuza shit. Like, why do y'all care? Like, just go over there and scam gas prices or something like like normal criminals. Like stop interfering at the human progress. We're already letting you make your money. Do you have to like remind us and like throw it in our face and like ruin our lives too? Like that's so fucked up. Like it's so sick and twisted. So yeah, my levels of hatred with these people is a fat onion with many, many layers of animosity, and it all fucking smells awful.
First of all, Dennis is most well known as a conservative radio talk show host and author. He has written
Makes me
books
hot and
about
bothered
topics
to
such as
fantasize about him
religion,
going to
happiness,
prison.
morality, the left, Islamism, and America. And at least according to his own website, he is an expert on communism, the Middle East, and the left. Dennis doesn't believe in knowledge in the academic sense. In fact, at school he was far from an ideal student. As Alan Estrin, the co-founder of PragerU and executive producer of the Dennis Prager Show, put it,
he didn't like school. To keep himself from being bored, he learned to spell backwards. He was a class clown. He was sent to the principal's office so often, the secretary named a chair after him. He did the minimum amount of homework. In his case, this meant 0. In a class of 110 high school students, he graduated number 82. Dennis's grades were so bad that his only college option was Brooklyn College, simply because Brooklyn would take anybody. But it turned out to be
Why did they make
choice.
this?
Dennis thus became a graduate school dropout.
They make what?
Why
this is
why they
Prager
admit all this
University. Yeah, this is Prager University content.
The worst student in the history of students.
Why did they make their? Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's
a great question.
It's that crazy notion wherein, hey, I was a fuck up as a student. You were a fuck up as a student. Look at me, I'm rich and I have a fake university, and I'll give you straight A's. You know, you can too. You know, it's just like you go.
So you think that's what we see? That is, I guess that's the pitch. They really believe that's the pitch. Gustick Gibbon talked about that. She did the video. She did a video about me debating a bunch of creations. She called out sort of, and I don't mean to keep referencing, but I've never really heard other channels calling out specifically. But it's this idea that we have the sort of amateur, self-taught, whiz who is going to consistently outshine the actual learned scholars. We write, novels and with characters that are this way, and you see movies with characters like this, and so we then think this plays out on the internet, because these were, I was dealing with a bunch of creationists who were telling me that, because I was trying to explain that they were clearly misrepresenting and not understanding evolution, but they told me I was wrong about the research done in the lab I just graduated from. So it's like, that's how deep the cognitive dissonance goes. For most people, that's like checkmate when somebody's like, bro, I'm published on papers with these people. What are you talking about? Right? But to them, it was just, no. You're one of, well, clearly you don't understand the work you've been doing for 10 years. Get the fuck out of here. Who's this guy? It's like, okay. But yeah, that's the whole thing, where that then becomes a credential even in an academic setting, especially if that academic setting isn't a legit academic setting and you're just appealing to the people. Why not go ahead and put it on out there that you barely could pass classes in elementary school?
Right. And I've noticed that, like, it doesn't surprise me. I've noticed that most of these fundamentalists that are telling me that, they've got the secrets of life all figured out are the same kinds of kids that I tutored in school. The same ones that I was staying after school to help them pass their remedial classes have now grown up, and they're still remedial flunkies, right? They still don't understand the basics of language and what words mean and how to use them, and like science, like even the basic tenets, and yet, but they've got a life all figured out, and they want to let me know that I need to like be under their tutelage. I'm like, bitch, I'm the only reason you passed Crayons 101. Like, don't even run at me with that.
And I hate to say it, but life is easy. This is something I know most really intelligent people, I think, deal with. Like, they struggle and a lot of times deal with depression and substance abuse and all this shit because at the end of the day, life is boring for most people. It's filled with so few meaningful challenges, right? That you don't really need to be smart to hold down a job, have a career, make a family, make it through college, get an advanced degree, and find yourself in the 60 to 200K range, relatively breezy and bored. So there's a lot of high functioning slow kids. let's just put it like that, right? And the thing that gets me in it is it's not even a denigration of the person. Like it's recognizing that part of the sickness that comes with this religious disease is disinterest in the real worldly knowledge and tools because of the message that is so fundamentally detached from this life. And again, it's one of those consequences that I think Lena probably feels it real strongly, but it's something that I don't know if atheists feel after a while. I almost think you gotta like keep Christians in your life or go to church or something like that, because the Christianity we deal with on the internet is not really representative, right? And, you know, it's like this weird cigar room Christianity, right? But, you know, Sunday morning pew Christianity is very intensively, this life is just the appetizer and, you know, it's all feels and, you really quickly realize how detached it is from anything that we would consider scholastic. It just doesn't encourage that. Even people in the community who are that way, I think, feel a little bit weird, right? It's not common. It's not common. You're celebrated like you're an astronaut or something.
Right. Truth.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's what bothers me. It's a deeply anti-intellectual culture, I think, fundamentally. And it's one of the less popular problems to talk about.
Sure, and I wouldn't mind that they're anti-intellectual if they just openly were so. Like, look, you guys can be over there with all your fancy science and your math and your language.
Right.
But we over here having fun with crayons. I'm just saying, like...
Right.
You know, you guys could just give it up and have a simpler life over here, like eating the paste, because we got flavored paste now.
Right.
You know?
Yes. We got flavor, toxic free. You know, we put some vitamins in that shit, so y'all be all right for a while. Yeah.
Right. Like if they could just call it what it is, right? Then I'm for that, right?
Yeah. No, that's what gets me. That honestly, one of the things that makes me want to choke a Christian these days is when they say something like, I love science. Literally, like, when they say I love science, I just want to choke them. I just want to, like, you just don't ever say that again. Just don't. No, you don't get to say that. You don't. No, you don't. No, you definitely don't.
Master's program at his own university. Well, it's at Daily Wire, but he often does these kinds of programs at his university. Rather than traditional knowledge, Dennis believes that what's important in life is wisdom. Not just any wisdom, of course, but that of the Judeo-Christian Bible. He therefore argues that traditional universities are a place where foolish people are produced.
Secular schools are the repositories of non-wisdom. The least wise places in America are the most secular places. They're called universities. That's where all the ridiculous ideas come from. Because these are thoroughly secularized people who make up their own ideas about life.
The solution for Dennis and his business partner Alan was to found Prager University in 2011, which later was rebranded to...
Hang on a sec. I also just got to throw in here real quick because I'm big into that university life. Well, I think it's such an honor to work at a public university, and part of it is that it contributes to the secular progress of society. And I just want to point out that here he's using secular in a way to mean anti-theist and anti-religion and anti-God. And I am personally all of those things. But that is not what a university is not secular in that way. And for a university, secular just means, without, any sort of religious foundation to it that would preference, one religion or another. And matter of fact, religious universities, right or wrong, are also allowed to start secular universities if they, stick with the practices that everybody else does, right? There's tons of some of the best universities are run by, religious organizations, or they're started by churches or whatever, and they just went right on board with all the public stuff that everybody else did, right? And that's fine, and I just want to call that out because I am a big anti-theist guy, and I'm also a university person, and I don't want people to think that I don't understand the distinction. It's great for somebody like me because I happen to be that crazy liberal professor that hates God. That I'm straight out of what's that movie called? God's Not Dead or whatever. I'm literally the professor out of every fucking Christian propaganda film, right? But that's it's not a job requirement. There's
this little school in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I think it's called Harvard University. It was founded to teach the clergy of the Massachusetts Bay Colony how to do it. How to do it right. The college I went to was out in Waltham, Massachusetts. It's called Brandeis University. It was founded as for the Jewish community's contribution to higher education. Not to say that in this day and age, both of those institutions are tremendously secular. It's not focused on yes, they teach religion. If you go to Harvard Divinity School, you're going to get a doctorate in divinity, right? If you go if you go through the Near Eastern Judaic Studies program at Brandeis, this is one of the best in the country. You're going to learn Akkadian, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're brainwashed into a particular religious faith. Yes. You can bring that there and inform your religious faith with stuff that either expands it, reinforces it, or washes it all away.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of knowledge. Knowledge isn't
absolutely.
Knowledge isn't the exclusive province of religious text.
Exactly, Stephanie. That was so eloquently put because that's the thing, right? That's what we mean when we say secular in the university context. It means we're here to do research and to teach, and those things have to produce in a way that works for everybody's empirical needs, and that's it, right? And secular's a shortcut for that. Right, but he's taking that to mean it to mean something totally different. But yeah, Stephanie, that was perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a boogeyman thing, right?
Yeah.
PragerU has a very clear agenda. The goal is to counter the dominant left-wing ideology in culture, media, and education.
Right.
It's worth noting that even though they call themselves a university, they're not an academic institution. You will not be getting a certificate for completing their courses, at least not a certificate that's worth more than the paper it's printed on. PragerU's flagship product is the 5-minute video section, which covers a wide range of material from economics, religion, philosophy, and, of course, American values. Sections. You can also enjoy some private time with Dennis himself in the fireside chat section, where Dennis sits next to a fireplace and discusses a range of trending cultural topics that matter the most to you and your family. As a small sample, he covers topics such as, should your conscience be your guide? Why do atheists want more people in church? Has feminism ruined work? Erasing gender? Can we learn about economics from the Bible? And why schools should not teach children about sex? Spoiler, it's because Dennis didn't have to learn about sex in school, and he's obviously turned out just fine.
I've seen some of these segments. I guess he puts them on the channel maybe to advertise them or whatever, but his cringe factor is just over the top. And man, I gotta say that even for a fake institution, this is bad, right? Like, I hate to say this, but let's not give, people are really trying to do education things on YouTube, right? There's a lot of great educator channels. There's a lot of, Gustick Gibbon. Even what Derek is doing with these Mythvision MVP courses. I'm really impressed with his effort there to try to find the best scholars in relevant subjects and bring that to the public in a way that's consumable and affordable. On a a la carte, you buy the course you're interested in. Type of thing. It's a really I think it's a meaningful innovation, right? Because it's the next step, right? I realize this with my teaching, and it's a big part of why we use Gather and stuff like that. Is just trying to figure what's next. You realize there's a need, or like I say, this community is so interesting because people want to hear from scholars and they want to learn about these issues, and they want to. It's a community that kind of learns for entertainment, right? Mm-hmm. But there's often a dissatisfaction with the depth because there's only so much you can learn from a podcast and super chats and stuff like that. So to me, it's a meaningful next step for people who want to go deeper. Because I did stuff like that. Like I wanted to take Carrier's class. I took Richard Carrier's Historicity of Jesus class because I had bought Richard Carrier's book, started reading a little bit of it. Derek said he was going to take the class that month, and I was like, perfect. That'll make sure I really read it, right? That'll help incentivize me to really read it, and it did. I really read it to keep up with the class and got to ask questions, and it was asynchronous, and so I was like, man, we could. This is a model, especially for us academics, because most of us teach with the university between us. And there's something dissatisfying about that. There's something wonderful about having a teaching gig because it's a great way to make a living, but there's something dissatisfying about I'm building community over here, but I'm only supposed to teach these people I don't have any relationship with. So it's an interesting way to support academics and also promote channels and stuff like that. So I think people are doing a lot of great things with education. But with this Prager stuff, this isn't even substantive in the sense of the depth you would hope for theologically, right? Like even trying to be charitable, it's like, bro, give me some Bible school or something, right? Like teach me some exegesis or something, my brother. Like, what are we talking about? Your thoughts on Ukraine and gender ruining the workplace and what is all this what is a woman type stuff, like this is like, damn, like, and again, it's like it really seems like, I hate to say it, but it's like, why do y'all hate the Bible so much? It's like the deeper you get into the fundamentalists, and especially the ones that are trying to be all active in society, it's like the Bible's the last thing they go to. I'm disappointed, Dennis Prager.
Truth.
Disappointed, man.
I have opposed sex education in schools from the beginning. I had no sex education in my school, and I knew about sex.
PragerU also offers a large variety of kid shows that you can just trust for second graders up to sixth graders and beyond. This is a guaranteed woke-free zone where kids can learn classic American values.
Now look. Woke agendas are infiltrating classrooms, culture, and social media. Is there anywhere that's still safe for our children? So, James, you called this out about how they demand their safe spaces. They go all out the way to make sure they've got a place where they can say what they need to say, which is why I think it's important to cover those safe spaces when we can. But yeah, you know me, you know where I'm going. I think it's important for us to have our own, right? Because it does change things constantly having to address your opposition or detractors.
Right. And that's how them have it. You know, churches have a long history of being safe spaces for people that don't want to be accountable for learning and growing and being reasonable people. And it still is. You can go there. In fact, who is it? Jim Jeffries does a skit about that, right? Have you seen it? There's this place you can go with your dumb fuck kids, your dumb fuck wife, to sing dumb fuck songs. It's a fucking wonderful skit, right? You can go there and indulge in all the dumb fuckery you want, and there will be no atheists that are bothering you. No picket signs, right? Nobody interrupting you. But when you come out here in the real world, right, and you're gonna bring that shit into the Super Bowl ads, you're gonna bring that shit onto our YouTube algorithm, you're gonna bring that shit to people in our community, you're gonna try to infiltrate the public domain and the private domain and the governments and the schools and just everybody's lives, right? Then, you know, those are not safe spaces, are they? Right? You bring the shit, you're gonna get the shit. That's how that works. Keep your shit behind closed doors in a church. You can say whatever you want to. We don't care. Bring it out here and make it our problem. Now we care.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't. I don't always know what to do, right? Because there is a meaningful way in which we do want to engage with the other side, but at the same time, I'm often like, I do find myself longing to just not have to deal with that. That was one of the really early decisions that I had to make with Gather that was like tough. It was like one of the early tough calls. Like, because for the most part, our friend group is pretty homogenous with regard to certain issues. Meaning we're mostly all progressive atheists. But I realized I don't want Christians.
Yeah.
Because it's I don't mind being like in the guest room, but it's like it's weird because it makes me feel awkward having to consider the feelings of someone carrying the flag for that when I'm as vehemently anti-theist as I want to be, and I feel like so much of our community is recovering from religion. Like it's not okay to be in here as a Jesus salesperson. Like it's just I'm not with that, and because they have their statements of faith, and I just think it's okay for us to have an atheist community. But yeah, it's a weird kind of thing that we do out here, where we do a lot of the hate watching and all that type of stuff, and then you kind of do make some friends on the other side, and we are trying. But I see it as different. I see it as like meeting people where they're at, changing hearts and minds, or even doing things like debates or whatever shit like that. A lot of those are our public facing, it's like your work, like your missions, like what you're doing out in taking over the internet,
Right.
But then there's a difference between who's got a key to the house, right? Like that's
Right.
Yeah.
You has, according to Dennis, become the most viewed conservative video site in the world, with 1 billion views a year, more than half the people under the age of 35. Considering that Dennis has a somewhat negative attitude when it comes to knowledge, it is perhaps not surprising to learn that PragerU is currently in a legal battle with NewsGuard, an organization which combats misinformation by rating the credibility of news and information on websites. Indeed, Dennis is quite the character. He's despised by many, but also loved by many. Anyhow, with our host being introduced, let's take a look, shall we, at his master's program, so we can see what insights he has to offer.
Also, I was having an interesting thought about some of these terms too, like progressive and woke. To be honest with you, I don't see myself necessarily as those things. I don't see them as bad things. So I don't want to disassociate from them because I feel like that's fueling the fire of treating them like they're bad words, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But really, it's more of I don't consider myself worthy of carrying the terms in terms of being aware enough. And in some cases, I don't find myself worthy in the terms of really being like about that life, right? So like that's why I don't consider myself a social justice warrior. I don't think being a social justice warrior is a bad thing. I just think I don't do enough social justice warrioring to consider myself, you know, and what I do, I just consider the base level. Like that's basic. Like I'm at just trying to include everybody, and I'm like, who's getting their shit all fucked up right now? Yeah, let's stop fucking their shit up right now. Like, I don't deserve real status in the army for that, right? I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm over here on the sidelines, just rooting for the good guys, more or less. Right. And then, you know, something like woke or progressive, I just feel like, again, the terms mean what they mean in our current context. So, again, you could ask me the 5 questions, the 10 questions at most that I think could predict, you know, how I vote in American politics. You probably get my, you know, my preference on 95% of candidates and ballot initiatives based on these 5 to 10 questions, right? Well, in our current landscape, somebody's like, you're a progressive, woke, liberal because you think we should have free education and medical school and, you know, like just stuff that I think is basic. You know, everybody should be able to eat and we should have a national minimum wage. I basically want us to be like, it's just like most reasonable places in Europe. And to me, that's conservative because we're like behind, like we're doing remediation, James, right? So if you did some of that, what I consider to just be remediation, and then we just started from there, I don't know how far crazy to the left or progressive I'd be considered once those basics were, you know what I mean? But I understand that in today's climate, that makes me progressive, left, uber, socialist, whatever, and I'm just like, fine, I don't care. I'm just like, yeah. What up, Oz? What's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all. Define thy terms.
Hi, welcome to the Masters Program. I'm Dennis Prager. This is part 1 of what I call the consequences of secularism, or to be precise, the terrible consequences of
I don't know who does your style, my guy, Prager, but you are ghastly white, okay? It's like the pale shirt with, like, quite honest, pale lighting, like even the sunlight coming through the sun looks extra white. Like, right, the sun ain't got no yellow to it in this shot. At all. Like this, even the sun is white as fuck around Dennis Prager. And he's got this super white hair. His skin is so pale. And then the glasses, bro. To pair all this with them transparent frames, no, my man, you got enough money to get a couple of dark rim glasses to set your face out to go with your suits. I know I shouldn't be talking about the man's fashion, but it's just the extra detail that just makes it all ghastly, just ghastly and ghost-like down to the frames, and this just needs a bit of warmth and color in this damn scene.
With an introduction like that,
James, sorry.
I'm waiting for him to cross his legs, give us a zoom out shot where he's wearing his green Argyle socks with Crocs. This is what I'm waiting for, man.
It's just, yeah, man. It's a problem, man. He needs to get some RGB lighting or something. I don't know.
Is Dennis going to present something completely new and revolutionary in the perennial debate between
Prager,
religion
the hateful
and
ghost,
secularism?
exactly.
I can barely contain my excitement as I sit down to watch the first 2 episodes, in which Dennis shows us what the terrible consequences of secularism are. According to Dennis, that is. Dennis begins by emphasizing the plight of what he calls secular extremism.
So I'm sure you've all heard that some people are religious extremists.
Oh, and I should say, yes, whenever Dennis talks negatively about religion, he accompanies it with imagery and footage of primarily Islam.
It was that. Don't worry. It was we caught that. It wasn't very subtle. It was like some of you have heard of. He might as well just say some of you have heard of Islamic terrorists, right? y'all know them Muslims are a bunch of bombers, right? Oh man. But again, like, he is literally gassing up and appealing primarily to the January 6th crowd who thought, you know, when Jesus ordained Donald Trump didn't get the second term, which he was literally statistically, obviously, the worst president ever. I mean, just by any reasonable account. Donald Trump was such a bad president. You're not gonna. Let's get some of y'all still Donald Trump. Just like y'all really couldn't even vote before the last election. Let me. I ain't even been around that long, but I'm gonna summarize for those of you who just got a little bit. If you past 30, you gonna understand what I'm saying right now. Donald Trump was such a bad president that even for people way on the left, he made George W. Bush cool again. Are you fucking serious? George W. Bush was the first president who literally every American made fun of at least 3 times a day. We just treated him like he could barely speak. We have no idea how he graduated from Yale. How did he ever get a role in the government? Can he even write his own name? Does he know where any of the states are on the map? I mean, talking about how stupid George Bush was is a national pastime. And the man was literally a second-generation president. Donald Trump fucked everything up so hard. Even people on the left was like, yo, them George W. Bush paintings kind of cool. W got a little sense of humor to him now that he's out of office. He's not so, some of them decisions wasn't quite, so we were in a rough place at the time. We making all types of excuses for that man because Trump made the shit so bad. He just looks real reasonable now. We're just like, oh yeah, W, we'd bring it back if we could. But, that's how bad he was. And Prager has no idea, apparently, that he is the religious extremism we're concerned about in this country. Like, it's him. This is just, I don't understand. And then all right, hang on a sec. The crazy thing about biological dad and my mom visited my biological dad in the hospital and checked. And in her words, it's the most beautiful pussy I've ever seen. I wish mine looked that good. Holy shit.
Wait,
Nitty.
Who said that about who?
So Nitty's mom visited Nitty's biological dad in the hospital, who is a trans woman. And Nitty's mom said that Nitty's dad has the most beautiful pussy I've ever seen. I wish mine looked that good.
I don't even know what to do with that.
I think it's amazing. That's what people need to see. That's what people need to realize.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's a compliment there, but I don't.
That's what people need to realize.
Yeah.
Part of my thing, like, yeah, man. When I when I was learning about this, like, I have some friends who, like, you know, I got into like the culture, like trans culture, drag culture, and like part of, man, like look, you're not gonna know. I'm just gonna put you this way. You don't know. You just don't know, and that's great. That's beautiful. That's what it should be. It should be look. Yeah, that shit look nice, don't it? That shit look right, don't it? You wish your shit looked that good, don't you? That's beautiful. That's what it should be. That's what it should be. That's awesome. That is awesome. Anybody got comments on that? That's a pretty big thing. I want to give the panel.
I'm all for the compliment. I think it's a weird discussion to have with your kid, but I still appreciate the support. So.
I feel like I should say something, but I'm not really sure what. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I quizzed my surgeon, like, hey, how did you get into this?
Ooh,
and
that's a great question.
And he said, well, I was serving in the army in Korea, and there were a lot of injuries, and I learned quickly that area of the body is really quite malleable. And I said, okay. So
wow.
Anyway, yeah, he was Gene Shrang was a very, very curious little guy. He was one of the 4 surgeons in North America at the time that was doing GRS, and he was really quite an interesting dude. God rest his soul. He's gone now.
Oh yeah, that is a really interesting point, because it's a real career path for people, right? And not one without consequences. So similar to soldiers, I always have a curiosity out as to how people take to that line of work, right? Certainly glad somebody does. But yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a fantastic story. Man, I talk about people we'd love to hear from, right?
Imagery of, for instance, the Ku Klux Klan, anti-abortion violence, anti-minority violence, pogroms in Romania, and so on. But no, throughout the entirety of his series, whenever he speaks positively about religion, he shows imagery relating to Judaism and Christianity. And the few times he talks negatively about religion, he shows imagery of Islam and Hinduism.
Have you ever heard of secular extremists? Or secular extremism? No. And you know why? Because the general modern belief is you can be too religious, but you can't be too secular. It's like being too rich or too happy.
No, it's like being too off. or too naked. Like it's a concept mostly defined by what it's not. And so you don't talk about extreme forms of the absence of something, that would be weird. It'd sort of be like telling people, well, I was in a dark room. Well, it was extremely dark. Sure, there could be a difference, but most of us just say, we turned all the lights off, it was dark, and we know you can't see anymore.
Right. But
the thing that bugs me the most about Prager and folks of his ilk is the overbearing superiority that they bring to their presentation. Like, I've got the truth and nobody else does. It's just, my God, how can your mind be any more closed? When you talk about Judeo-Christian culture and the Judeo-Christian God, well, as Stephen just said, it's, Islam worships the same fucking God.
Right. Right.
I mean, Ishmael was the other child of Abraham that God promised he would raise up a great nation amongst. I mean, and that's where, the children of Israel are the Hebrews and the children of Ishmael are the Arabs. So they're all part of the same family. They even speak almost very similar languages, not quite very similar.
Fighting over the same land.
And it's just, and Prager's sitting there basically saying, well, echoing the words of whoever that general was, it said, my God's bigger than your God. I mean, how fucking junior high do you have to get?
It is literally, my dad can beat up your dad. James, you were going to say something?
Oh, I peeked ahead a little bit in this video, and I agree with you about secular, but apparently there's more than one definition. And
sure.
I guess that's the only excuse I can make for him, because Rationality Rules, Stephen Woodward, is about to say something I don't agree with about the secular issue of what it means. So brace
all right,
yourself.
all right, here we go.
You can't.
Also, I just wanted to quickly throw this in, since I guess we're going to start talking about secular, which I thought I looked up recently. But what was I going to say? Oh, I also find it that, I don't know, for me, maybe I use the term extremism too broadly, I don't know, but to me, extremism doesn't necessarily have to be violence, mass violence or stuff like that. I think if you read the common Christian interpretation of the gospel, all of this, leave your family and follow me, drop your nets and I'll make you fishermen type of shit is absolutely extremism. All this forsake the world and, all of the asceticism, right, of vow of poverty, vow of chastity. That's crazy stuff, right? That's such an extreme way to live, and to go pointing the fingers at other people, calling them religious extremists, is just weird. It's weird. All right, let's see about this whole secular deal.
Society gets too secular, it ends. That's right, it ends. It is the end of the civilization as we have known it. It is a catastrophe.
And yes, Dennis will continue to depict secularism as if it's anarchy. Get used to it. Right then, with Dennis's central thesis being that secularism ends civilization, the definition of secularism is, of course, paramount. So, how does he define it? He doesn't. Not at all. And whether you appreciate Dennis or not, surely we can all agree that this is a pretty big problem, no? If Dennis's argument is that secularism ends society, then it's incumbent upon him to, at the very least, define secularism. But nope, we'll have to do that for him. For our own benefit, then, what is the definition?
All right, so I'm going with secular, which is Google saying denoting attitudes, activities, or other things that have no religious or spiritual basis.
I
AKA
agree.
non-religious, lay, non-church.
Right.
And then the Christian definition of clergy, not subject to or bound by religious rule, not belonging to or living in a monastic or other order. A secular priest. Meaning that would be like, that just means someone who works in the church but isn't like, somebody who's not working within the church, but so this is a within church usage of the term, right? But yeah, so is he going to define it some other kind of way?
So,
or is he, or is ism? Is that the difference?
Well, so here I agree with the definition that you just cited. So, with that being the case, taking a piss is a secular function because it has fuck all to do with religion, right? You gotta pee, right? Making a sandwich is secular, right?
Yeah.
Any song that has nothing to do with religion is automatically by default secular.
Right.
So
well,
science.
James, you're just not giving
secular.
enough credit to God when you're making your sandwiches. That's your problem right there.
That is a problem, and I might like if I had Dennis's wife making me my sandwiches, I might go ahead. I mean, I'd be fair. But
man.
So my problem is that Rationality Rules is about to disagree with me. That's the problem I'm having. So that's
all right. Here we go.
Brace for it. Yeah.
Of secularism. The term itself was first used by the English newspaper editor George Holyoake in the mid-19th century in an attempt to move away from the negative connotations pressed upon atheism at the time. For George, secularism was defined as the study of promoting human welfare by material means, measuring human welfare by the utilitarian rule, and making the service of others a duty of life. A series of principles intended for the guidance of those who find theology indefinite or inadequate or deem it unreliable.
The study of promoting human welfare by material means. Measuring human welfare.
That's like secular humanism.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's humanism. That's not secular by itself.
Measuring human welfare by the utilitarian rule and making the service of others a duty of life. A series of principles intended for the guidance of those who find theology indefinite or inadequate or deem it unreliable. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. And this is, again, like, why should I care what this one white boy said? But it's kind of like the studying of promoting human welfare by material means. See, I don't even like that because that almost can get wishy-washy with like a consumerism, but it's not necessarily what you would mean as like secular, right? You would more mean like material means more directly, like it's like material needs, not materialism, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then measuring human welfare by utilitarian rule, like I don't know, that's just a little weird. And I'm definitely not with making the service of others a duty of life.
No, because fuck that.
That's like some compulsory love nonsense.
Right. So who's asserting that here? Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not down for that.
A series of principles intended for the guidance of those who find theology indefinite or inadequate or deem it unreliable. And yeah, I agree. That's definitely just getting more into secular humanism or what it's intended to do.
Yeah, because secular isn't a response to religion. Secular predates religion.
Right. Yeah. Right. And secular is just non-religious. This is almost like what people do when they...
Wait, the concept of secular didn't exist until religion, because it's a lack of religion. You can say like, oh yeah, before there's religion, there was no religion, and that's like technically secular.
But they didn't have
the
the word
idea of secular, yeah. It's in response to religion.
Right. So yeah, this is kind of weird because it's going to something much more grand than I think we would with secular, and yeah, I wonder how this ties to the mission of the university deal.
The definition of secularism has, however, significantly evolved since George's time, and to insist that we today use the original definition is to commit a fallacy of etymology. I bring this up since, unfortunately, when defining key words, appealing to etymology is very common. But if we are to
and Robert Price. That's all I got to say, because this is what Robert Price did with the whole thug thing. He He thought he could get away from. He clearly only uses it in a bigoted context, but wanted to basically act like it was okay because the word has some technically non-racist origin.
This game, then Christians are atheists, since the etymological root of atheism pertains to those who reject the Athenian gods. Let's take a modern definition, then, from the horse's mouth. The British National Secular Society provides 3 alternative definitions of secularism. They are as follows. 1. Separation of religious institutions from state institutions, and a public sphere where religion may participate but not dominate. 2. Freedom to practice one's faith or belief without harming others, or to change it or not have one according to one's own conscience. 3. Equality, so that our religious beliefs or lack of them doesn't put any of us at an advantage or a disadvantage. In general life, these definitions are more than sufficient, but not for Dennis, nor the religious conservative bubble that he belongs to. As we're going to go on to see, to make any sense of any of the statements that Dennis makes about secularism, we need an extremely loose definition. Here's the closest respectful definition I could dig up, which can be found in Professor Philip Zuckerman's book, Society Without God. As with any adjective, there is no single definite or absolute meaning of secular that everybody can agree with. Rather, its meaning is nebulous and fuzzy, and changes over time and in different contexts. But generally, when we speak of something being secular, be it a person, song, or government, we basically mean that it is not religious. Upon scrutiny, secularism isn't the most robustly defined word, that's for sure. But in a nutshell, we can say that something is secular if it's not religious.
All right. I kind of am piecing together the problem I have here. This is one of those situations where I think we dramatically overthink a term, and we do it only to the benefit of apologists. It reminds me of when you tell somebody that you're a naturalist, and they go, what does that mean? Well, I don't believe anything, exists beyond the natural world. Oh, okay. So you support? Do you believe in science? That's weird, but yeah, I generally accept science. Oh, well, scientism this and scientism that. And then you accept evolution. Well, evolution this and Darwinism this. And it's like, yes, there's a problem with the way you're applying that term because you're applying it in a way that's problematic and I don't believe is correct. But it's even more problematic that you're not recognizing that the transfer to that problematic term is not warranted because something is secular, or we support secular institutions or secular values, which again is strictly to me non-religious in the sense that atheism means I don't believe there are gods. And then instead, it's like Uncle Bobby talks about, now it's twisted into your worldview and the philosophical underpinning of your morality and the basis of how you believe the government should operate. And again, I might keep it $1.50 with you and say I'm all about secularism, right? But the way Dennis Prager refers to secularism is a problem because most people who identify as having secular values or being secular people don't see themselves as pushing some sort of secular-based ideology. And that's the problem here. And we're somewhat reifying that problem getting wishy-washy ourselves with the difference between secular and secularism. So secularism is not the boogeyman Dennis Prager makes it out to be, but most people don't identify with secularism, and the secular progress of the world, in other words, the world's continued movement towards development in medicine, education, human rights, the fact that those gains are secular, meaning they have nothing to do with religious institutions, does not mean that they're reflective of a secular ideology. Matter of fact, they're not. Because if most of the population doesn't identify as non-religious, and you have this progress anyway, then it can't be some sort of non-religious ideology as the catalyst of the progress. All you can say is that the progress is secular, meaning that it's happening independent of institution. Meaning, yes, the church, religious people are getting more tolerant of women in their own organizations. Check. Right? They're starting to have more women pastors and whatever it is. Okay, but all these other religions, they're also waking up to that. Oh, okay, cool. Well, non-religious people are doing that. Cool. Well, the academy's doing it. Cool. And the coal miners are doing it. And cool. That means it's a secular thing. That means at that point, irrespective of religious ideology or no religious ideology, this is the direction things are headed. Right? And now they're trying to say, no, things are headed in that direction because of a secular ideology. I know that was a long-winded thing, but I hope people see the distinction and why it's important. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It's not subject to or bound by religious rule. Stated otherwise, to say that something is secular is to say that religion doesn't belong in this particular space. Now, that doesn't mean that religion can't belong in other spaces, it just means that it doesn't belong in this space. Much like if I have a spaghetti bolognese, I might say that this meal is apple-free. There are meals where apples are appropriate, but this isn't one of them. A secular state, then, is one that doesn't subject or bound its members by religious rule. But that doesn't mean that it's against religion altogether. Who you worship in private isn't my business. It becomes my business when you want to have your cake and make me eat it too.
So, just one little...
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead. That's a great point to pause.
One little trope on secular. I think it's good to refer to etymology because it comes from Latin, which and the word meant of a time or period. So secular is something that's in time. Religious is speaking of things that are outside of time, like God. So it's like things of the world. In the Latin Mass, it's in the Latin Mass, it's et in secula, it's secula seculorum, amen, right? So it's forever and ever, amen. But that's putting things in the world time frame, and God exists outside that world time frame. So it's different. Secular is not skeptical. Right. Secular can comprehend a God that operates in the world, et in secula seculorum, amen, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end, and all of that. So secular can comprehend a religious framework, but it can comprehend all religious frameworks on an equal footing, right? So a secular state doesn't mean a state that has no religion. It just means a state where no religion is privileged over another.
Yeah, it's not. It's non-religion in a way that is distinctly not anti-religion.
Right. So it can exist that way. It's not secular humanism, nor is it skepticism.
Right. It's like I can't say to somebody, "Oh, you can't be in this biology department because you're Catholic." Well, this is it, right? Because evolutionary biology is secular, so you I mean, like, that would just be the
but the Roman Catholic Church,
craziest thing to say.
The Roman Catholic Church accepts evolution,
or even an evangelical, right? It would, because it just wouldn't matter, even if they were, But you guys get what I'm saying. But yeah, it just has. Prager is not able to fundamentally represent this whole discussion honestly, and I think. Stephanie, you hit on something, because even when I looked up secular, one of the other similar words was temporal, worldly, earthly, profane. So
right.
Yeah, and that feeds into their narrative, right? Because world equals bad, worldly equals bad. Sign of the times, sign of the end times, all of that type of rhetoric. So the flavor of the soup is sort of gonna have them turning up their nose at that stuff already.
Yeah, if you hew to an apocalyptic vision of the world that basically says this world does not matter, the only world that does matter is the world eternal to come, and you need to pay no attention to this, then you're off the fucking hook. This is where I think particularly right-wing Christianity is pernicious, because they don't have to give a fuck about old people. They don't have to give a fuck about equality of races or sexes or genders. They don't have to give a fuck about that, because in the next world, in the world to come, when Jesus comes down trailing clouds of glory with a corn dog in his hand, then all will be saved and the world will be changed. So there's no real relationship, for all of the hue and cry about how the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Well, isn't that the idea? It goes to hell in a handbasket. God comes down, saves the whole fucking thing, and off we go, playing, holding hands and worshiping the Almighty for all eternity. Right. And watching those people we never gave a fuck about in the first place go jump in the lake of fire. I mean, it's a ridiculous way. It's a ridiculous worldview in my regard. And now I'll get feisty. I'll start yelling. It's just bullshit. It's just complete fucking bullshit. Because it gives you a pass to not give one rat's ass about anybody else except for the people who are members of your cult and agree with every fucking thing you have to say.
Absolutely.
And give you money, by the way, on the way through, because after all, preach the word of God, my dear Dennis. Put your hands on the radio and shell out and open your wallet.
Yes, and what pisses me off is that the people, and this is speaking more directly what's happening in our channels and our spaces, is that we're trying desperately to keep our spaces open to them, but it's the people who need to hear us the most that are actually the ones trying to shut us down.
Right.
Yeah, that's really difficult to deal with. But yeah, Stephanie, I appreciate you, and just let me know if you want me to pause again.
Moving on, Dennis clearly states that he's not going to promote any specific religion. No, he wants us to know that he's going to appeal to our intellect.
I am appealing to your intellect, not to your beliefs, not to your theology or lack of theology. If you are an honest atheist, you can agree with every single thing I am about to say.
As just seen, he emphasized
white man burden university. It's lacking. Are you guys finding that out? That's all PragerU is. PragerU is just a think tank created by mainly the Koch brothers to try and get dumbass new college students to pick up the white man's burden. It's trash.
And the irony is that he is currently using leftist ideation against the left, right? Like they have to have Candace Owens and Amala and all of the Coons and the Uncle Toms, basically, so that they can, use, hey, I'm black and I used to be progressive, but I'm here to tell you racism isn't a problem anymore. And it's like, they can't stay away from that. So they know that this is the way the world is turning, but they feel the need to fight against it, even to the point of funding those identities themselves just to make straw puppets out of them.
Candio, servant of the patriarchy, servant of the racist structure of American society. She's just one of the most horrible human beings to walk the face of the planet now.
But even Dennis Prager knows he's got to have him a good blackface. Gotta find him some Uncle Toms. Got to find him some, and they've got Corolla or whatever, some Jewish, some self-hating
Stein
Jewish
type motherfuckers.
Yeah, all of them. yeah, they're all on that Prager U-tip. That's the whole deal. I think he's in that set. I think Dennis Prager grew up in a Jewish home, and he now loves to use that against the. I grew up on that silly shit myself.
Oh yeah, he went to yeshiva. He went to yeshiva high school or something. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. That's on his report card. That's what it says there. So.
Oh, so I didn't read the name.
I assume he's Jewish.
Yep, he is. Nice.
Damn.
All right, roll tape. I got a gang here.
If you are an intellectually honest atheist, you can agree with everything he has to say, which, of course, implies that if we don't agree with everything he has to say, we're not intellectually honest. Smart, right? This is made all the more clearer in his conclusion, where he states,
You may not believe in God. You may be completely irreligious. It has nothing to do with anything I have said. All you need to be is intellectually honest and care about humanity in order to worry about what the death of God, the Bible, and Judeo-Christian values mean. That's the thing. This has not been an argument for you to believe in God. I might make that another time. It's only an argument for you to understand what happens when he's no longer around in people's consciousness.
Yep, Dennis heavily implies that if we don't agree to everything he has to say, we're not...
Have you heard about my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? Look, Dennis Prager, I would be happy to concede that a secular world where God is just completely absence of people's conscience was the worst conceivable world imaginable. If only I could actually experience that secular world. I am begging for the opportunity to admit that I'm wrong about this. Because what secular world is... Have you heard about my Lord? So I had to bang on the mic to dramatize the point because that's what it is. It's this rude, Uncle Bobby highlights this so much, but we've come to accept that people that you have not invited to your home, who are not carrying a package that you ordered, mail addressed to you, none of that shit, are going to bang on your door strategically around dinner time because they know you're home so they can introduce you to their religion. In a world where I don't know that I've ever met a person above the age of 9 who has not heard of their religion. So what is this secular, godless world that this man is talking about? I'm going to keep it 100% real with you. Let's go back to one of his little fright scenes real quick. Okay, now, let's just say there are 50 people that we can see in this camera shot right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people you think will sign a checkbox that put their name on it that says they're atheist?
I mean, depends on who's asking, but most people don't.
Who the fuck knows? But I don't think it's going to be most of them.
Nope.
I'd be surprised if it's more than a handful, right? You know, and even it's so funny, James, because this is the new thing. The new thing, see, again, I got way too many Christians in my life. I'm gonna tell you how it really is. The new thing with Christians is, I don't know if y'all heard, but Christians are not religious like they used to be. Yeah, I don't know, but like the last 10, 15 years or so, the new thing for Christians is to be like, we love Jesus, but religion's kind of problematic. Yeah, we look around the world, we see a lot of problems with religion. Yeah, there's a lot of these religions out there that are starting problems. But no, we're not about religion. We're about that relationship, okay?
Yeah.
So what are they basically telling you? They're telling you that even as most of these motherfuckers are getting, quote unquote, secular, they're not getting godless. They're not getting atheist. They're just becoming more progressive Christians. Like, yeah, they're effectively becoming secular Christians, right? So like even if America became secular as fuck, the identity of most of those secular people would still not be atheist, godlessness. It'd just be more, it'd be like weak sauce, milquetoast Christians, just milk toasting their way through life. Like, so, it just falls apart on every level, right? Like, it falls apart and somehow suggests that most of this is somehow a godlessness scene, that this is a result of secularism, that even if it was secular, that it would be godlessness, because secularism just doesn't mean that, even for fucking Christians, when they're honest about it. So it's just this whole thing is weird.
That's the thing.
Every time I hear the word secularism come out the mouth of an old white guy, all he's saying is just Negroes and queers dancing in the street. He's just against Negroes and queers.
But it's a funny thing that is so weird to be against. But I'm with you. Go ahead, James.
I'm for it. I would like to see lots of Negroes and queers dancing in the streets.
Me too.
Like, there you go.
Me too.
That's why I'm secular.
Me too.
In fact, did you go ahead?
No, I was just gonna say if the world was more secular, Negroes and queers might have a whole lot to actually be in the streets dancing about.
Right.
Most of the time we're in the streets, it's a goddamn protest because somebody's dying.
Right. Or if we try to gather on a street corner of more than like three, we're getting hauled away because we're too suspicious.
Facts.
Right.
Somebody being murdered is the only time we overcome our fear of public gathering enough to.
Right. Phone calls. Oh, they're at the cookout. What are they doing? They're Negroes gathering in public without grievance. What is going on?
Hurry up and get here before I have to shoot them. And then the police will be like, "Who is this?" And be like, "Dr. Price."
Right. Dr. Price. Some of them have boobs. I'm extra scared. Yeah.
Oh man. Appreciate you, Stephanie. I think Stephanie dipped out.
It's only an argument for you to understand what happens when he's no longer
See you later,
around
Spider.
in people's consciousness.
Yep. Dennis heavily implies that if we don't agree to everything he has to say, we're not only intellectually dishonest, but we also don't care
also,
about
Six Spider
humanity.
made a great point when I asked how many would tick the atheist box. He said, how many even do not even know what an atheist is?
Don't even know.
Yeah, most people can't clearly define it. That's
it's crazy.
We're quite the monsters, aren't we? And don't you just love how he plays scenes of anarchism as a representation of secularism? Or at least that's what it appears to be out of context. I'd say this is cute if it wasn't so intellectually offensive. Now, even though Dennis claims that he doesn't want to make the case for any particular religion over another, he effectively makes the case for two specific religions. And yes, they happen to share a great deal in common and coincide with his geographic background. What a shock.
Nor am I making, number three, I am not making an argument for any one religion. If you understand the consequences of secularism and then decide to be a committed Catholic, a committed Protestant Christian, a committed Jew, a committed Mormon, I'm fine with that. I am not here to sell you a given religion. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to convince you that the consequences of the death of...
I can't because, okay, let me be clear about something. Christianity, being religious as a grown person, is the most fundamentally intellectually dishonest way to be. You are literally pretending to know something you don't know. And you are making that thing you don't know the most important thing in your life. And then you are making it a central part of your life's mission to convince other people to believe the thing you never had reason to believe in the first place. It is the most fundamentally, intellectually dishonest way to possibly be. It's like, who say, our faith is the most inherently dishonest position imaginable. It doesn't get more intellectually dishonest. But on top of that, this fool now has the audacity to tell us he's not here to sell us on a particular God. Is anybody unclear as to how much of a self-hating, like, Christian promoter Dennis Prager is? Is anybody unclear about PragerU's religious affiliations? And he said to himself, oh, maybe I'll argue for my God in another video. They always want to put everybody under the same umbrella so they can go against big bad God haters. But as soon as he's given the chance to speak his mind and tell his donors and supporters what he's really all about, it's Jesus on the inside, Jesus on the outside, Jesus at supper time with Jesus on the bagel. You can have Jesus anytime.
Oh my gosh. Fox News Jesus. Make sure. It's not anything related to reality. It is that motherfucker, that Da Vinci or whoever he painted his boyfriend and that white dude with the long hair. Right, that's in every other grandma's room. That's the Jesus they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his whole video here is totally dishonest. Just the total lie. Horseshit.
Of the God of the Bible, the Judeo-Christian God, has been a calamity for civilization and for people individually.
Carol, you're lucky I think you're a sweetheart, because you and I should fight about this right now. You know, because I really don't know, Carol. I really don't know, Carol. I think you make a really valid point, and I often think about this. I often think I can't be this God hater because God doesn't exist, and I can't hate something that isn't real. But there was a moment recently, even I think it was just a few days ago. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was the earthquakes, or I don't know what it was. You know, there's so many things every day that are so fucked up. But I remember I got pissed at God for not existing. You know, I found myself like pissed, and it wasn't like a, oh, I forgot God isn't real moment. I was just pissed that we're having these struggles and these strifes, and so many people are so devoutly turning to this God thing for help in these situations. And it makes you realize that if a being like that was possible, it would be pretty shitty of that God to not be? Like, if God is possible, God's a fucking asshole for not being the God he could possibly be. And then on top of that, he's an even bigger asshole for not doing the things that God could actually do. And so it sucks that all their faith and all of our anti-faith is much to do about nothing. It's a waste on both sides. It would even make me feel better if God were real but a monster, right? And then we could say, yeah, God's a monster, and now let's argue about it because God's a fucking asshole and you're worshiping a fuckface who won't do anything. And he's up there, and he's sitting, and he just won't do a goddamn thing. And he fucking sucks, and you suck for worshiping him, but instead he's not even real. So we're both wasting our goddamn time. So we're both wasting our goddamn time.
Yeah.
And then there is the sort of deeper philosophical issue, James, the metaphysical matter at hand, right? Of God is a real concept and God is a real character as portrayed in the Bible. And I absolutely hate that character. And I hate the very real support and loyalty for this character in people's lives. I literally am becoming intolerant of God followers, and so God is very real. It's almost like as a person who understands sociology, or some sociology, right? I understand race is a social construct. In other words, race is not real. But if a white person wants to see how hard I can punch, they should come up to me in person and tell me race is not real, right? Because it's both things are true. It's a construct of the human imagination, right? So it's not real in the material sense, but it's absolutely real in the effect that it's had on human lives. And I think that I hate God the way I hate racism. How real it is irrelevant. Yeah. It's all about the structural system. But God damn it, Carol, it's an interesting question. Actually, it really is.
You know, Jay, I gotta agree with you a little bit. Like, yeah, it's like what my guy Mr. Koda said when he wrote his book. Race isn't real. Racism is real. It's the same thing with religion. God isn't real, but religion is, and the structures that upkeep it are. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said, Ring. For 100.
You see? Sure, Dennis isn't arguing for any specific religion, but note the examples he gave. They're all of Judaism and Christianity.
And then decide to be a committed Catholic, a committed Protestant Christian, a committed Jew, a committed Mormon. I'm fine with that.
So yeah, Dennis isn't arguing for any particular religion over another, but the only examples of religion he endorses are all subsets of Judaism and Christianity. Whenever he speaks of other religions, such as Islam and Hinduism, or indeed anything he doesn't like, such as secularism, he either shows imagery of anarchy and terrorism, or contorts content to appear as much. And note further that he immediately followed this up by saying, straight up, the God of the Bible. Except, of course, Islam.
The God of the Bible, the Judeo-Christian God, has been a calamity.
The God of Abraham
no particular God. That's just so blatant, man. Mm-hmm. That's the type of shit where even not even his editors were like, but he did say he wasn't going to argue for a particular. You sure? I just okay. All right.
Also, hey Jay, I just thought about something. Maybe it was because it came out the mouth of a vitriolic white man, like this guy. Why do they say Judeo-Christian? Why don't they say Abrahamic? Why don't they include, the Muslim God? It's the same God, isn't it? That's some racist ass shit, bro.
That is weird that they tend to go Judeo-Christian instead of Abrahamic. I always thought because that's the direct line, and they're kind of excluding Islam over here as this side branch. I don't know why, right? But
we had a whole
yeah.
crusade about this. Yeah, they don't want to include brown people in there because you can't say they have the same.
I think they have. I think they
sense.
only include Judeo because they have to. It's so weird, right? The whole thing is a perversion of a weird Jewish sect. It is a sect of I mean, it is a sect of yeah. You're so right, because it's a sect of Judaism essentially, and people say the same thing about Islam. Islam has the same cultural background. It's like chimps and bonobos and humans. Like they're in the same evolutionary family, and they identify themselves consistently in a way just to exclude that one group. Yeah, because we say like the reason we did taxonomy wrong forever is because we kept trying to exclude humans, right? We kept trying to put humans in a special group. So we fucked up all the other taxonomic layers so humans could be in a special group. And we realized you just can't do that. But if we were consistent, then, you know, we're in the same family as all these, we're apes, right?
We're apes.
But yeah, this is the same thing where if they just said Abrahamic faith, it would clearly include
all those sand people.
Yeah, but by saying Judeo-Christian, they exclude Muslims. That's
calamity. I can agree with Dennis here, which is damn awesome,
shit.
because if I didn't agree, then I would be dishonest and I couldn't care less for humanity.
Oh yeah, they
Jokes
had some real
aside,
explicit anti-Islam shit at the beginning where they were showing Islamic terrorism.
As already said, Dennis further expresses his allegiance to Judaism and Christianity through his choice imagery. But in case we need more evidence of Dennis favouring the religions of his geography, we know that he stated as much elsewhere and on numerous occasions. He said that he is certain that there's only one God, one version of one God, and that all other gods are just made up.
Whenever somebody says, I believe in God, if I want to get into a conversation with them, I will ask them one question. The God you believe in, did this
All right,
God...
gang, I'm going to give y'all some food for thought. Every once in a while, I'm going to drop some scientific out-theres on you just to have something to write the NSF so I could get more money. But let's start to talk about ways in which science challenges religion. And I have one that's interesting, I think, thinking as an evolutionary biologist, because this particular argument's more going to be something you already know, and it's going to be more about the philosophy of science than scientific facts. So it's more of an argument against religion by way of arguing for the scientific method. One of the ways you can tell that science is a reliable means of understanding the natural world is that different scientists in different parts of the world speaking different languages are able to recreate, and not only recreate, but then extend and go beyond based on, right? Not only can I recreate James's work halfway across the world, I can say, well, if James was right about this, let me recreate that. Okay, he was in fact right about that. But if that's true, it should mean that this is true and I could predict this and da-da-da-da. Now let me do those experiments and they come up good. Right? All over the world. Literally throughout space and time. But what do we all know about religion? People almost always, and with very rare exception, believe the religions of where they're born and the cultures that they're born into. If their faiths were true, this would be a perfect type of experiment, because you'd start where everybody's, taught a different story. But through a testing of ideas and trying on each other ideas and rejecting some and accepting others, they came to the true God. And then it would spread everywhere. Because when you pray to this God, it would work. When you pray to that God, it wouldn't. And when you accepted this God into your life, you'd become a better person all over the world. You'd be transforming societies and healing people and bringing peace. And soon that would just spread, and there'd be no other religion. So it's interesting. It's like we don't have to look at evolution. We don't have to look at the geologic column. We don't have to look at DNA. We don't have to look at the tree. We don't got to look at the trees. We can just ask ourselves, why isn't this shit working? Why doesn't their shit work, man? So it's a really fascinating contrast. Really, really enjoyed that one.
God give the 10 Commandments. And if they say no, then I respect them, I may even love them, but we don't believe in the same God. My God and Eric Metaxas's God gave the 10 Commandments. Whatever other beliefs we have, that is another issue, and not a problematic issue to me. But if you don't believe God revealed his moral will,
Jay, pause.
The God you believe...
Okay, to follow up on the Judeo-Christian thing, he just did something that just really pisses me off all the time. Pretty much all theists do. Whenever, whenever they're talking about God, right? When they want to sell you something, they're always talking about their specific God and how their specific God is true. But the moment an atheist or a non-believer, a true non-believer comes into the room, they always want to band together and be like, oh no, it's always the same God. Acting like these crusades and these wars and all these killings never happened over these fights. And it's go ahead.
Yeah, you're right 100%. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I call it adaptive theology.
Yeah.
It's constantly.
That's true. So, Wayne, we're just going to put this in wrestling terms.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is they recognize that the atheist or the skeptic, the genuine non-believer in the room, is the monster. They're the 7-foot giant that is going to fuck all them up. Maybe even 3, 4, 5 at a time. So the only way they're going to be able to win the battle royal is if they gang up on the giant, all 13 of them gang style agree to just take the giant out. They push them over the top, and now they can fight it out amongst the little people.
Exactly.
And you've seen this play out in battle royal after battle royal after battle. But we know there's only two legitimate ways to book the battle royal. There's only 2 legitimate ways to book a battle royal, right? Either a monster wins. Because you can't have your monster and they're looking like a punk. Your monster is no longer a monster if they get in the battle royal and they just getting tossed out by one of the regular sized motherfuckers. Or a tag team gangs up on them and all of a sudden they don't know how to fight 2 people at once and they're just eliminated. Yeah, they're eliminated from this battle royal and the title picture at the same goddamn time in one stroke. That, I don't know who that tall motherfucker right there is, but monster he is not. Right? And so is it either the monster has to win or you're literally wasting your fucking money. You might as well piss on it and burn it. Or the little people have to gang up on the monster, eliminate him, and that way somebody else can get the title shot. There's only 2 ways this goes down. Right? It sucks, it's predictable. But what else are you supposed to do? But yeah, it's really obnoxious that that's what they do, because it's sort of one of the things we point out in Rob points out in the Tower of Babel book, and we teach in the class. You have all these really distinct flavors of creationism, but when it comes at battling evolution, they pretend that any form of belief or any form of rejection is all the same thing, and it's a similar tactic that they use in this area. They do You know, they to be honest, quite frank, they do this with social issues, right? Where, you know, wow, I'm just putting this together in real time, but that may actually be the value of the culture wars to the right.
Yep.
It's all of a sudden, why talk about our actual issues, because they just bring out our disagreements and don't allow us to build the coalition. Let's just focus on owning the libs by keying in on the prejudices we're all at least ascribe to being on board with.
Yep. Let's always argue about things that the average person can't like discern like in a single conversation. Like they don't want to argue about whether 1 + 1 is 2. They want to argue about, you know, some other shit related to your rights, and they want to keep it nebulous because A, they can get more numbers that way, and B, they can continue the conversation going. You know what I mean? Nobody knows.
They can pretend they all have the same opinion about it, which is crazy. That's why they're all family values and God is great and
right. But when they talk about family values, they mean family the way the mafia means family.
Yeah.
Right.
This is why they band together whenever they need to work together to create, you know, a global presence. But when you're just talking behind closed doors, you know, one mafia Christian family talking about how all the other ones are illegitimate and they need to figure out a way to dominate that landscape.
Right.
And, you know, it's just whatever suits them at the moment is what suits them in the moment. So these little independent mafia Christian churches, they have to kind of work together with the other ones. Because most of them ain't big enough to have enough power and influence without the larger network.
Right.
But they hate that they have to. They hate it.
Mm-hmm. Well said, James.
Yeah. Now, what I wish they do is work with us, because we could just take them all out individually, one at a time, and then take out whoever's left standing. But nah, it's the false coalition building is a key thing we got to pay attention to.
Even you made up.
So basically,
one last thing. You know what it reminds me? Last night I was watching a video from this guy on YouTube. Napoleon Bonaparte is his name.
Oh, is it the new one? Wait, we about to watch the new one.
The Kung Fu Master one. I think it might have been from a little bit ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was just talking about all these fake Kung Fu masters, and he thought, or not Kung Fu, but like martial arts masters from all around the world. You know, the guys are like, I can knock you out without touching you, that type of shit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all faith-based, and he thought it was just like one or two like people, or it came from a region, but nah, it's an epidemic because it's like systematic. Like it's just like religion. These people want to believe in this thing, and they've paid all this money to this guy who's apparently closer to, you know, whatever is mystical out there, and they're willing to, like, just like church, they're willing to fall out on his command and all sorts of weird shit. Like it's absolutely obscene, the parallels between like religions and like fake martial arts.
Yeah, that's a really great point, actually.
I would love to watch one of those videos on the feed of like just the fake martial arts masters are hilarious, man.
Yeah, we checked out a couple of those. We should check that out. Oh, he says, Punk, I was wondering if it was okay to watch. They said YouTube made him censor his latest video. All right, but I got a link to it from Punk on YouTube, so
nice.
On Vimeo rather. So we could watch it offline.
Nice.
If you don't believe in the God of those who specifically follow Judaism or Christianity, see, I'm not choosing just one religion here, then you invented your God, unlike Dennis. And as if all of this wasn't enough, when speaking about Islam, Dennis explicitly states in his masterclass that he'd prefer that they were secular instead of Islamic.
By the way, I would welcome more secularism in a place like Iran. I'm well aware of that. Between the Islamic extremism of Iran at the time of this video and a secular Iran, I would prefer a secular Iran.
Indeed, Dennis thinks that secularism entails the end of civilization.
It ends.
And yet he'd prefer the Middle East to be secular instead of a variation of the Abrahamic God. That is a religion.
It is
that
the end of their
extremely
civilization
similar to
because their
his.
civilization's built
That's
on,
quite telling.
you know,
Yeah.
the man. Like, and every time you're secular, you're looking for answers not from the man. You're going, you know, you're trusting yourself. You're looking within yourself and your community to find answers instead of him. So his world is fucking crumbling. His innate power of being a rich, wealthy, white Christian male, like, it doesn't mean as much as it used to, and it really bothers him. So his world is crumbling, and good.
It is.
I hope he falls to the sea.
And Rationality Rules just made your point here, which is that he's so dismissive of his their Islamic cousins. They just they just don't see the similarities, even the common heritage. It's crazy.
Key takeaway here is that while Dennis is correct to say that he's not arguing for any one specific religion, his additional comments and imagery make it abundantly clear that he's arguing in favour of the specific religions that have power in the geographic range he cares about, namely Judaism and Christianity. It's akin to promoting the benefits of drinking beer in a pub that sells only one beer, all while insisting that you're not arguing for any specific beer. Sure, you'll play clips of your beer being poured when you speak fondly of beer, and depict imagery of other beers when speaking negatively about beer, but this is just you reading too much into it, bro. No. It's not a duck. It just looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck. But it's not a duck. And this slippery employment of rhetoric is omnipresent in his masterclass. But I thought it worthwhile giving this overarching example the limelight.
Wow. Celebration of poop.
Now that we've defined Dennis's terms for him, and have established that he's arguing in favour of the religious institutions that hold power in specifically the locations he cares about, we can ask, what specific picture does Dennis paint of the world without a God of the Bible? Firstly, and unsurprisingly, he claims that the dictators who committed the greatest genocides in history were secular.
The greatest genocides of the 20th century, and indeed of basically of history, occurred in the 20th century, and virtually every one was caused by a secular regime. How often have you learned that at high school or college?
Probably also not a secular regime.
Never.
Oh boy.
They keep showing these religious regimes and calling them secular. Huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't even.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like it's not secular. I don't. It's just, this is dumb.
I'm pretty sure Christian America had something to do with 1 million dead Iraqis. That's just me.
And look, I am not here for the KKK to tell me how racist all the people who say China virus are. and that's what I feel like Christianity. Y'all can't talk to me about homicide, genocidal regimes, blah, 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 because I'm going to just pick up the Bible and your God is like, yeah, please go take out them people and wipe out all of them, right? And then he comes back and said, nigga, what? Oh, you think you're going to be the king? You think you're going to be the king? Nigga, I said wipe out all of them. You went, and what did you do? You kept a little bit of plots of land. You kept a little bit of the fine women. Fuck out of here. You're done. I said kill everybody. I meant kill everybody. Like, are you
Smash
serious?
those baby heads against stones.
Y'all can't talk to me about which regimes did nothing. And this is the problem with biblical Christianity. You put that label on yourself. And I'm like, no, you're team genocide. That's all I hear when you tell me you're a Christian. I'm sorry. Like, look. I know a lot of y'all think that it's going to be really hurtful to people's feelings if we make them feel bad about being a Christian, but I have a secret to tell you. I want them to feel bad about being Christians. I think you should feel bad about being a Christian. I really don't think it's okay to identify as identify means? Identify is a need to know basis. When you identify as something, it means that's who you are. And people can't truly recognize you without seeing that part of you. So when you tell me I need to understand that you're a Christian to understand you, you need to understand what being a Christian means to me. And what it means to me is that you are worshiping the God of this book, who is I literally cannot imagine a more monstrous character, a more monstrous personality. Hitler has shit on Yahweh.
The only way for you to gain my God's favor is to be covered in the blood of his sacrificed child. I mean, really think
about it. I mean, seriously, that's just
that's insane.
All right, like, look, y'all, just start saying these words to your Christian friends and family. Hebrew blood magic. Let's talk about Hebrew blood magic. See, I have a feeling that term right there is going to put a rock in their shoes, but it's a whole lot of it throughout the Bible. Even that, kill a goat, paste its blood over the doors. And I don't know, they be telling them stories. They be telling them stories, man.
It's so funny, man, especially whenever you mention the blood magic. They're like, oh, God, you mentioned my God and magic in the same sentence. He doesn't do magic. He does miracles, which is the same as saying he doesn't drink Coke. He drinks Coke Zero.
He drinks Pepsi. Yeah.
Not even Pepsi.
Not even Pepsi.
Coke Zero.
Coke Zero. Coke Zero, right. Yeah, exactly. It's magic, but it ain't magic. It's just ridiculous.
There's already a lot to respond to here, but I'm going to do so in the next installment. These responses take a lot of time and resources to make, and unfortunately I don't nearly have the backing of the Daily Wire to justify addressing everything in one installment. That is, at least not yet. What's more, I don't allow myself, like Dennis, to make claims without backing them up. Honestly, I can't undersell just how much gish gallop we've got to get through. I mean, Dennis even claims that without God, art, music, and architecture die.
Which brings me to death of greatness in art, music, and architecture.
Death of greatness.
Celebration of the ugly. In fact,
y'all just reminded me of something, and it's so perfect because before James brought it up, but now Wayne is here. First off, the language, the death of greatness. Christianity is where great things go to die. Let's be fair. Nobody's ever done more with blander everything. All right, so you mentioned, James, how faith is the place for people who don't care. And and more importantly, don't want to be held accountable for their shit. I happened to notice recently the Jesus turn of one particular Terry Bollea, a.k.a. Hulk Hogan, who is just the biggest asshole. And and it's so funny because when I used to be a Christian, I used to celebrate when I'd see celebrities become Christians because I thought they had turned good. And now every time I see a celebrity go to Christ, I'm like, oh, they've turned bad. And this is the thing, because it feels like the easiest way to do performative reputation rehabilitation.
Yep. It's the easiest way for you to keep your summer house if you're a celebrity. Just say that you love Jesus and people will give you money.
I knew I was America's top asshole 6 months ago, but I found Christ and I've been reborn.
Kevin Sorbo, he only became Christian because he wanted to keep his summer house on the beach. That's
I mean, It's
Justin Bieber.
So cheap.
Yes.
Oh fuck yeah, Bieber went hardcore, huh?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and he was like, "Look, I sing and dance. Let me get up on this worship game real quick."
Mm-hmm. He's like young Justin Timberlake, like, you know, dancing at church.
Yep, absolutely. But a lot of them, some of them turn back though. They turn back once they get comfortable, and you know, that shit fades away. And so we'll see. I never know which Mace we're gonna get on the next album.
Right. Are we gonna get Bad Boy Mace, or are we gonna get Preacher Mace? Right.
Oh man.
I'm very serious.
Oh, look.
You have no idea, unless you follow this subject as I do,
just how much poop comes out of Dennis's mouth.
What?
Look, I entirely appreciate that Dennis is greatly respected by many communities, and for this reason, I'll take him seriously. But as I've already began to reveal, Dennis's productions are polished turds. They have the gleam of intellect and wisdom, but their substrate is vacuous and hateful.
And now he's into
and in
polished
time,
turds?
I'll show you the terrifying consequences of Dennis's bigotry.
That he actually is going to sell you
as
polished
always,
turds?
thank you kindly for the view. And if you're willing and able to support me as I meticulously analyse the extremely problematic content of the Daily Wire, then please do consider supporting me on Patreon. We have huge plans for the
Yeah, please do consider supporting us on Ko-Fi, because that's how you sponsor our capacity and gather. We've ditched Patreon. Patreon is so last year. Shit is so passé. But yeah, that was fun. I hope there is more. I'd like to review more from Dennis Prager's master's class. But James, what do you think about more of a serious engagement? What do you think about atheists kind of getting into Christian courses?
Oh, like taking a master's in divinity or something like that?
Yeah, because I mean it's kind of like taking the what we do with these videos to the next level, and then you could like break down what they're actually teaching at that level.
If you're not too traumatized to take the classes, then, and if you don't already have like a very thorough knowledge of what Christianity is all about, then yeah, absolutely, I suggest taking classes like that, because one, it's gonna put some credence behind your name that they'll respect, and two, it's like if you want to talk about Harry Potter with somebody that's big into Harry Potter, probably should go read all the Harry Potter books, right? Maybe join some discussions about the Harry Potter so that you get it in a cultural context. So sure, go for it.
Yeah, me, I hate it. Like, I hate the Bible. I wouldn't want to study it. I don't like reading very many things. I have to really anticipate a lot of value out of something. Yeah, I don't really do a lot of recreational reading. Right. But I think a lot of our community seems to, and is really into studying things. I definitely would be into it for the content. Like because I think of it as like same way you can like deconstruct sermons, like deconstructing their homework assignments and the lecture materials, and I could see myself having a ton of fun with it. I can't see myself having the time for it. I could see myself maybe if I was getting like, maybe a little bit more maturation of whatever I'm going to do with this stuff professionally and at a more secure place in my academic career, maybe. Like if I already have tenure and I'm getting a lot of, maybe good education research out of it or something like that, I could see doing it. That I could see do, because I gotta find a way to either, get
because right now I actually feel like early in your career there's a lot of pressure on what you do with your time, right? So you got to get a grant or something that allows you to spend your time on something like that.
Yeah.
Or you got to get to a more secure place in your career where you have more freedom with your time because you're not going to get fired unless you get way off course.
Right. So if you plan on having those discussions and debates with Christians, they're going to say you don't know nothing about Christianity, and then you can prove with documentation. Obviously, you do. You passed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now with me, with my life experience, you already know I'm come upside their head. They say some stupid shit like that.
Right. True.
All right. Now here's an interesting thing. Now we definitely gonna do. I'll probably start talking more about offline, but I want to do something on how I'm really looking for more validation from Christians. I feel like that's another problem in these conversations, is that we don't demand that they respect the sincerity with which we used to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's a problem because we often do know more about the faith than they do, even now.
We do.
And it's a real problem because, and then they're so dismissive. You know, you're an atheist because you were hurt, or you didn't do it right, or you didn't have the right doctrine, or all this type of shit. And they would never say anything like that to us, except for the label. If they met us on the street, and we just said we just used the label Christian for ourselves, but we were the exact same people, they would never challenge our faith. It's only because we're atheists that they think they can just dismiss however many decades we spent in the church and whatever impact that had on us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that goes back to all of the self-hatred and sin and the concept of sin in Christianity. Like, how is it that the most powerful being in the world doesn't show up and it's my fault because I didn't believe enough? He's the most powerful being in the world. Why should he give a shit what I think and believe? But like,
yeah,
it's always the fault of the believer, and then it goes doubly so when there's a non-believer in the room. It's your fault even more. God's probably not showing up because you're here talking about how he doesn't exist. Like, that's how they rationalize it.
Right. Yeah.
Fucking crazy, bro.
Yeah. So it's sad. It really is. But look, let's have some fun. I want to play some games, watch some TV. Come link with us up at the island. Punk, if you come link up with us, we could watch the Napoleon Bonaparte video. But otherwise, we'll probably just be gaming and catching up on stuff and watching some TV. So, come link up with us. I think we'll head to the island, and appreciate everybody. Links are in the description. Don't forget, we're looking for 15 people because we're trying to switch over to the premium gather. Hoping to do that no later than the first of the month. So really appreciate those of you that have been signing up. We started making a bunch of members-only content. The Ko-Fi link is in the description. That's where you can see the members-only content, and we're going to keep putting stuff up there. And please come show your support. It's like the price of a drink a month, and it really helps us keep our real-time interactions going. And we'll probably talk more about Gather over the weekend or something, and have some more fun in here. But appreciate you guys. Thanks so much to James, Wayne, Lena, Stephanie, everybody for hanging out here and Gather. Crypto Mystic's been in here too, and Spider. Appreciate everybody. Thank you guys so much. Oh, Sal just joined Ko-Fi. Appreciate that, Sal. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's awesome. I'm really excited about that. I hope you enjoy the exclusive content. All right, gang, we'll see you next time. In the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens, science bless you all. Poof! Poof!
Zach? Why she wanna leave me alone? Saying face when they been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the house not a home. Sunshine cause she heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the sun, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win. Now I'm got it, you ain't answering my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe I just been moving too boss. Really hate when the feeling get lost. Nowadays she just dodge my calls. In the game throwing laws like Paul. Young legend Miss John like Wall. And I wish you never met like Call. Dick game lay it down like law. Made plans but you canceled them all. I was just trying to splurge in the mall. Now I'm home stacking bread till you call.
It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna ride. We smoking. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl.
We smoking that side. I'm tryna get high. She said that she not ready for lust. I waste my time. I got demons in my closet. I can't hide. I did all my exes wrong. They wish I died. Damn, I tried. They won't believe me when I say this. Oh my God, what a blessing. Hello Phoenix, that's my twin. I told these hoes they won't get my heart again. Not again. Cause they were missing when I needed just a friend.
They were missing, yeah, they all were missing. They don't want no smoke, they hit the blunt and started tripping. My daughter about to be 5, I ain't got no time to be bitching. I'm still reminiscing,